بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله وصلى الله وسلم على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. We are live here from the Mowbray Maqbarah, alhamdulillah. We're having a heritage program بإذن and we make dua that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses the program. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. The program will be starting shortly, inshallah, as guests are arriving. So we will have some very important announcements and addresses being made, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum. Can I ask that everybody take their juice, their coffee and tea, and please be seated. We would like to start the program as soon as possible. Shukran. Sheikh Riad Fataar, can you please find a seat? Shukran. Shukran very much. Assalamu alaikum. Good day. On behalf of the Mowbray Cemetery Board, we wish to extend a warm welcome to everyone in attendance today on a very special occasion, the Mowbray Qabristan Heritage Day. Before we proceed, let us be mindful of a few house rules. Please place your phone on silent. Please be mindful and observe the COVID-19 protocols by ensuring social distance, sanitizing, and wearing of a mask. For those who need to use the bathrooms, there are 3 ladies dressed in black. One in the front that has welcomed you, one at the tea station, and these ladies at the juice station, who will direct you to the bathrooms, which is on my right-hand side at the office building. As construction is happening at the cemetery, please stay clear of cornered off areas under construction, and most importantly, please be mindful of your step as there are many loved ones buried at the cemetery. Please note the program today as detailed upon your respective tables for your convenience. If you look upon your table, you will see a lantern and rolled up page. It details the program. I will just take you through the program. First will be the welcome, and then we'll have an opening dua, followed by the address by Faisal Said. We will then have Indres C saying a few words, and Professor Halim on Heritage Day. Thereafter, at 12:10, will be Ibrahim Parker of the Security SA, Ahmed Parak of the Islamic Burial Council, and at 12:20, it will be Yusuf Khan Dalbai of the Cape Mazar Society, and at 12:30, a gift ceremony and a vote of thanks. We will conclude with a brief tour of the cemetery and brunch. At this point, I would like to call upon Sheikh Riad Fataar to please grace us with the opening dua, for surely we cannot start any program without an opening dua.
الفاتحة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم إنا نسألك العفو والعافية والمعافاة الدائمة في الدين والدنيا والآخرة، والفوز بالجنة والنجاة من النار. اللهم حبب إلينا الإيمان وزين في قلوبنا، وكره إلينا الكفر والفسوق والعصيان، واجعلنا من الراشدين. اللهم رب الناس أذهب البأس، اشفي أنت شافي، لا شفاء إلا شفاؤك شفاء لا يغادر سقما. اللهم اغفر لأهل القبور من المسلمين والمسلمات والمؤمنين والمؤمنات، ارفع لهم الدرجات وكفر عنهم السيئات يا رب العالمين. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي، يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وأصحابه وبارك وسلم. اللهم افتح لنا بالخير واختم لنا بالخير، واجعل عواقب أمورنا بالخير، بيدك الخير والعافية، إنك على كل شيء قدير. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون، وسلام على المرسلين، والحمد لله رب العالمين.
Shukran to Sheikh Riad Fataar. Indeed, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept the du'as made, and may all undertakings that is taken on this auspicious day be accepted, inshāLlah. Ameen. At this stage, I call upon the chairperson of the Muslim Cemetery Board, TV talk show host and activist. As part of Faisal's social responsibilities, part of 15 organizations locally and abroad, encompassing the Faisal Sayyid Foundation. Faisal will now take you through some of the current developments and future developments and the vision for the Mowbray Cemetery. I welcome Faisal Sayyid.
Assalamu alaikum, and thank you for being here this morning. It's very interesting to see everybody here today, because one would be so concerned about having a function for the cemetery and would people rock up, because it's a bit unusual. But I thought it was important that we start tapping into our heritage and starting that journey from the cemetery. And so what I'm going to do in my 10 minutes, they've limited us because they keep telling me, and Shamima keeps reminding me, that the cemetery is the time and the place where you're reminded that your time had come to an end. So I only got the 10 minutes that she's given me, and I'm going to run through a couple of things very quickly. I think it's important that we update you in terms of where the cemetery is at the moment, what our plans are, and how this fits into the development of the community and the preservation of our heritage at the same time. So in this group of people, thank you for all coming out, but in this group of people, we have various stakeholders, our sponsors, sponsors at this event, sponsors of the cemetery for various services, service providers, partners, and staff of the cemetery at the same time. I want to acknowledge a few organizations and individuals, and all protocol observed to those which I have not mentioned, but the presidency of the Muslim Executive Council, the Islamic Burial Council of Gauteng, and KZN, our sponsors, SafePro, Security SA, Chairman of the Western Cape Undertakers Forum, IPSA, the Cape Argus, the Jersey Channel, Radio 706, Voice of the Cape, and each and everyone here today. Thank you for being here today with us. Sheikh Mujahid, I'm not worried about your mic. Okay, can I just pop it here? I just wanted to briefly define heritage quickly for you. I think sometimes we use words and we perhaps don't really go into what those words actually mean. So I took a dictionary approach to this, and it says heritage is property that may be inherited or an inheritance, but it's property. And property being a thing or things belonging to someone, possessions collectively, an attribute, a quality, or a characteristic, or something of that nature. So why did I bring this up first? Because something defining happened in my life, and that's why I'm here today. I lost my mother exactly 2 years ago. I never thought that I would stand in the cemetery every day, visit the cemetery every day. But that moment defined my life. I had the intention of sitting with my mother in the last years, of asking her, take me to the place where you went to school. I want to see the home that you grew up in. For some odd reason, I just ran out of time. And then I decided I'm going to go to my aunties and uncles for that. And since the day that my mother passed, 6 of my uncles and aunties passed away in the last 2 years. And now it's all gone, overnight gone. And I think it's there that I started realizing what the real meaning of heritage is. And do we see heritage as something that is far gone, 50 years? They are some of the things you're working on 100 years ago, 200 years ago. Or is your heritage in front of you right now? And you need to start that preservation process right now. So those are some of the things that I just want to bring to your attention in this time. Mowbray Cemetery, I've been chairman for just over a year, has gone through a number of serious upgrades. I'm not certain when these upgrades have been done in the past. This is an 1886 institution. It's a historical institution that belongs to all of us. Some of the upgrades is something that I want to run you through, and then I'm going to run you through some of the future plans. And later on, when we take a bit of a walkabout and plant some trees, I'll show you some of those upgrades, and then after that, we can have something to eat. But critically, some of the upgrades that we look at the moment is our northern border wall, the one that's sitting on that side, is just around about 0.5 kilometer long. That wall we had to raise. I don't know if everyone recalls, some people called it a satanic incident, some called it was a setup incident. October 2019, we found some strange incidences in the cemetery. It was at that point that I started getting involved and realized that we need to bring about reform. And part of that reform is to protect the cemetery. I would go home at night worrying about the fact that my mother lays on the side alone. I know it might sound strange to many people, but having been around all the time, one would worry. Likewise, what was the cemetery doing to protect the minds of people who came to leave their loved ones here today? Could they lay at ease at home, thinking that everything was secure? So Mowbray Cemetery was not secure at all. In actual fact, your tombstone would move. If you put up a tombstone today with granite around it, a couple of weeks later it was sold to someone else, and you shifted a couple of spaces to the right or left, and that was resold. Everything in the cemetery gets stolen. So you'll notice that anything we do here is of a military grade. Everything gets stolen. So the first point of call was to raise that wall. With that, we put in new gates, lifted the gates, and then we decided to put in security surveillance cameras. So the cemetery on this section and the officers are under constant surveillance all the time. Lots of things happen in the cemetery. People will ask what did happen. Only yesterday, I was in the cemetery and about 10 gunshots were fired in the cemetery, but it wasn't to shoot anybody, Sheikh Riad Fataar. It was a salute to somebody, a gangster that was being buried. I had such a shock because it's the first time I heard gunshots going off in the cemetery. And I would be normally saying this way to us, but the gunshots were rather interesting. But anything and everything happens in the cemetery. It's a place of emotions. Only on Saturday, last week Sunday, this week Sunday, we found that there was an incident in the cemetery, an unfortunate incident where a lady had lost her life. I'm hearing that she had become ill and had collapsed and lost her life. But incidents happen in the cemetery. So security protocol and control is critical. We've upgraded on that. Just after I became chairman, we had a bit of a disaster in the cemetery in terms of the flooding. With the flooding, damage to the kramat, water pooling, the pushing out of graves, 30 odd trees have so far been removed. I make reference to the post on social media that says that trees must be removed. 30 odd trees have been removed. And I want to bring your attention to something simple. Professor, if you had a tree that you were removing in your garden, one tree, do you know what the mission that is? We removed 30 trees at a serious cost. So that continues to happen. So that upgrade is continuing to happen as we speak. We've also taken the step of the kramat being the lowest area in the cemetery. Water's pooling into the kramat area all the time. We've fitted in a drainage system, which when the kramat floods, filters the water out near the kramat, pushes it underground and right into the road. Now, all those operations cost serious money. To elevate a wall of half a kilometer down costed just around 350,000 rand. So far, our donors have been good and our sponsors have been good, and the community has been getting involved. So we say thank you for that. I'm going to briefly take you through the new developments at the cemetery. Some very strange things, Sheikh Irfan. The cemeteries are moving forward, and Dayan, you would agree that why must we use archaic methods to preserve our heritage? We've got the technology, let's move with it now. If we don't do that now, we're going to lose out. So here's where some of the upgrades are coming. Firstly, Security SA is a partner to the cemetery. They will be putting in 2 cameras, additional cameras in the center of the cemetery that are mounted on poles. I don't know what you call them, Ibrahim. Remote surveillance. So off-site monitoring. They're on the pillars. So this means that the cemetery can be seen by a control room at any time. I know that they spoke to me, if I got this right, Ibrahim, that if an animal walks by, that surveillance picks up, the software picks it up, it's able to say whether it's a human being and then it alerts the control center. I'm not sure if Ibrahim knows that there is some paranormal activity in the cemetery at night. You might see some other things that you don't want to see moving around here. You got those cameras too. Okay. But the cemetery is going to be under surveillance 24/7. Why is the cemetery under surveillance? So I must tell you something funny. People would say that the cemeteries are protected. When you put up a wall, people made a statement, "Are you putting up a wall to keep us out?" So I'm not sure sometimes, Sheikh, what to do, because the minute you do one thing, the other thing is not good enough. We had the cemetery closed for to repair certain areas. There was a protest outside, and people were doing all kinds of things. And now this week, someone passes away in the cemetery. So I'm not certain if the public really understands why we take certain decisions. But the decisions are taken for a reason. We've got a very big upgrade happening in the cemetery right now. Salt River Mortuary is closing down. Am I correct, Sheikh? Yeah. Am I not supposed to say that? Okay. I'm sounding like a particular politician that speaks before the president, Mr. Hendricks. So what we are going to, okay, it's out there now. The new mortuary is on the corner here. I'm trying to call it Mowbray Mortuary because it makes it a one-stop for everybody. I know it sounds like I'm in a supermarket right now, but it is a one-stop. Basically, if you are in the mortuary there, they could bring you down to the new Gusseltana that we're building. We're putting in a state-of-the-art Gusseltana, for ease. For example, if there are any issues in the cemetery, you could come right up here, right into the cemetery and directly to heaven if that's the next stop, wherever you're going after that. I mean, that's debatable sometimes also. But I'll tell you about that later. We've gone fully electronic recently. We no longer, we are dealing with paper money, yes, but we're now using credit card machines and those type of things. I want to tell you guys a quick joke about this. Can I tell the joke about this? Okay, it's okay. It can't be off the record actually. But recently we put in a Standard Bank machine 2 weeks ago. Standard Bank came here and asked if they could have an urgent meeting with me because there's a problem. So I said, I noticed all this money coming into the account and I thought the donations, but it was odd figures, 5,250.4. And that, you don't get the donation that goes like that. But I thought it's quite nice. I mean, it was raining into the account, so it was fine. So they came in and they said that the Muslim butchery in Observatory had ordered the same card at the same time, and our card machine is there, and their card machine is here. So the problem is that that doesn't help me with the accusation that I sell body parts. I've had this accusation before, and now if you look at our bank statement, it's ribs and T-bone and those type of things don't help me because this last year has been a challenge as Chairman. I have murdered people, I've sold bodies, I've done things I haven't done in the first 40 years of my life. But the Wusulkhan is coming up. We want to inform the community about that. It's a facility for you. It's going to be a state-of-the-art facility. We're doing our best. We brought in the best equipment from KZN that was flown down last week. Here's something interesting that might revolutionize the way we're doing things. We currently have a software developer, a top-end software developer, developing software that will manage all cemetery records. This means data will be captured at the front desk onto an electronic system and a cloud system when your deceased passes away. What will also happen with that is that we will geotag graves. So this means that if your family comes 10 years down the line, they're able to go to a screen in the cemetery, touch on the screen, type in your name, and it will show you where the grave is. So this is something that is changing. We are also in line with heritage, trying to preserve the data. There is a book laying by Diane. This is an early record. Diane, I don't know if you could just bring it to the front if you don't mind for a moment. If you want to just inspect this a bit later, this is, it says 1943 on here. This is one of our early records. It's an actual book. It's not a book of spells. Some people think it's some magic type of book or something, but it's got records of the cemetery from the early 1900s. Inside here, if you open it a little bit there, you'll see handwriting from the early 1900s, records of the cemetery. And this is a very piece of serious information, but going forward, we need to get electronic about this and to make sure that, because in Mowbray, it's very simple for a grave to become covered. I'll give you a quick scenario. The storms happened when I was in Cairo. They say it was storming every day. A grave sinks in with a tombstone. More mud comes along, closes it up. A few weeks later, grass grows over it. A grave actually can disappear in the cemetery. People ask, how does graves disappear? It's very simple in winter. So if family don't continue coming out and assisting us with that, it becomes a problem. But preserving our heritage through software is the next move that we are busy with. We'd like to also announce, with permission of the software company, that the software will not be sold to other cemeteries. We will provide the software free of charge to any Muslim cemetery in South Africa that want to use the system to take the community to the next level with its records. Just a little bit about the future. A very strange vision for the future. I think some people think perhaps we're a bit eccentric, but I'm just trying to think a bit ahead. We want to take our front office and build a visitor center there. In the visitor center, we want to put in a small museum, keeping artifacts like that. Or we have so many historical figures buried in the cemetery that we can actually pay tribute to them with some history in our little museum with a florist. And that's our next stage of where we want to go. So we are hoping that our stakeholders, our partners, and the community will come out and take us through that process. We also have a volunteering system, and we want people to join us for that. That's all I really want to update you. I want to show you some of the developments we need to talk about a bit later. But I want to touch on something that happened on social media this week, and I don't want to go too much on it because I'm not one to respond much to issues on social media that has no official a line of call when it comes to a matter. But Mowbray Cemetery went through a good couple of weeks of very bad rains. During the rains, we cannot cut grass at all. Our equipment doesn't allow it at all. The storms were bad. I was in Cairo, boiling in the heat, while they said Cape Town was storming. In that time, that's the ideal time for vegetation to continue growing. So wild vegetation continues because they've been watered. The minute the sun came out, we started the process. So if you look up from this side of the cemetery to 70% into the cemetery, over the last 3 weeks, the lawns have been cut up 70% in. But you actually notice by the time you get there, 3 weeks later, they would start right in the corner already. That's the nature of the cemetery. We have 10 full-time staff members, and 10 full-time staff members is a lot for the cemetery. And the lady that had taken the video on top, it was in the last block on top. That's an isolated video. But I want to ask the public that if you have a suggestion or you see something, come to the office and ask for context. But when you report a certain way, you are giving the public half the story. And it puts the staff here in a bad space because they work 24 hours a day, trying to bring the cemetery into a space, and someone insults that work that they're doing. So we need to deal with those type of things. Having said that, we are open to any suggestions that people do have. Thank you for joining me. I'll join you a bit later at the back, but I'm going to continue the program a bit further, just to take you through some of the other speakers. The speakers, I just want to remind you that the timing for each little talk is 5 minutes. The cemetery is the place where you learn that your time can come to an end at any time. So Riad Fataar, thank you very much. Riad Fataar is going to give us a brief address on behalf of the Muslim Judicial Council, whom we consult and will continue to consult on challenges of the cemetery.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. I address everybody on behalf of my president, Sheikh Irfan Abrams, who has given me the permission to speak to you today. And today, while we recognize all contributions of all people of Cape Town and South Africa to the inheritance or the heritage that we have today, allow me to concentrate on the Muslim side. And from the Muslim side of heritage, we want to say Mubarak to the Muslim community. Mubarak, you have survived 350 years. Mubarak, you have continued with the deen of Allah Ta'ala and in the sunnah of the Nabi Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, that today when people land in Cape Town, South Africa, they can see there's Muslims around. Mubarak, you survived with your holding to the Quran of Allah Subhanahu Wa Ta'ala, that while we sit at the tip of Africa, at the bottom of Africa, our Hafid students and our Huffaz that have learned the Holy Quran by heart can reach to wherever in the Arab world that they can compete with them. Is that not great? Our ulama graduate from Islamic universities where you find that the ulama of the world graduate from our ulama that are in Cape Town. So therefore, heritage is inheritance. We inherited this, and that is why the Muslim Judicial Council will always praise our forefathers. Bear in mind, they were in the castle, the chains was around them, And they probably said to themselves, Ya Allah, how is Islam going to survive? So we inherited from them this heritage, this Torah that we are sitting with today. Now I want to quote you an ayah from the Holy Quran, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. It's in Surah Al-Baqarah, ayah number 134. Please go and read it up. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, تلك أمة قد خلت لها ما كسبت ولكم ما كسبتم ولا تسألون عما يعملون أما كانوا يعملون. That was a people that has been before you, and they have earned what they have earned. Now this is what we inherited, where they are, where we are today. This is what we inherited. They have earned what they have earned. وَلَكُمْ مَا كَسَبْتُمْ, and you will earn what you are going to earn. So the question to us today, while we speak heritage and we speak inheritance, what are we recording in our books by Allah Ta'ala for the heritage of our children and grandchildren that are coming, and our great-grandchildren? How are we protecting the deen of Islam, the sunnah of the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, the heritage of our community? My president reminded me, one of our icons, Imam Abdullah Harun, that is buried here, Allah Ta'ala grant him Jannatul Firdaus. You've seen the image that has come out in the week by certain people that showed that Sheikh Nazim Muhammad rahimahullah, Sheikh Abu Bakr Najjar rahimahullah, where they had an open air communication to the community in Bontewil, at the terminus of Bontewil. Now this is how our ulama stood up, and history bears that witness. History bears witness that the Imam Abdullah Harun has died, he's gone to the Rahmah of Allah Ta'ala on the 27th of September 1969, and was then buried on the 29th of September 1969. Now one asks yourself, what happened in between that 2 days? Why was there a delay in that 2 days? The Mowbray Maqbarah must also take note of the history that is recorded, and the book Killing of the Imam also records that the Imam was buried on the 29th of September 1969. And maybe you must go, because I understand from our president that the date is maybe, and it is by time, everybody. We finish with apartheid history. We must write our own history. Where is our intelligentsia? Oh, and I can tell you the Muslim people have intelligentsia. We have intelligent people. We have qualified people. We have educated people. We have professors and ministers, and don't worry, the politicians are here. Lucky I don't belong to anyone. But even the politicians that are here, you have a duty by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in terms of the inheritance and the heritage that you found, to protect it. I want to conclude and say, Mubarak to the Mowbray Maqbarah. You have seen the issues that the Muslim Judicial Council were faced with when it came to the escalated prices that was there, or whatever burial issues that the community contacted the Muslim Judicial Council. We have not found them to show us, we're not interested in you, we do our own thing, like some organizations do, who says you have no authority here. But we rather have recognition from Faisal Said, as the chairman, I'm using the platform, said Faisal, the recognition that we recognize the Muslim Judicial Council as our authority when it comes to Muslim affairs. And we want to cement that. And we want to congratulate them on the Ghusl Khana, especially in the time of COVID-19, where we are encouraging our communities, please don't do your ghusls at home. It has been a long time coming that this had to change. And COVID-19 had brought about that change. When you do the ghusl at home, then the buckets of water is either being thrown on the lawn in front or it's thrown in the yard, and tomorrow the children are playing in there and you don't know what germs, whatever is in the. So make use of the ghusl facilities that are there. We make dua for all those who have been involved in the Mowbray Maqbarah. And by the way, everybody, the book that Faisal just showed you, take a chance and look at it. The first recording in there is a Fataar in 1843. So we have a connection with the Maqbarah since the 1st of December 1843. Ek het goed gekyk. I want to say that all our predecessors and those who have been before Faisal, them, the administration before them, and the administration before them, and the administration, everybody has an impact on the heritage that we have today. We make dua that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala use us and that we be available to be used. Use us so that we are that protection for what has been given as an amana in our hands, and that we improve on that, inshāLlah ta'ala, for the generations to come. Allah ta'ala make us all min al-muttaqeen wa min al-muhsineen wa min ibadi salihin wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
Thank you, Sheikh Riad Fataar, and for that inspiring message also to us as a board to continue doing what we do. It's a very selfless job, I must be honest with you. I've been in television for 20 years, but my 1 year as chairman of the cemetery amounted to the most amount of insults in that year. So it's a very selfless job. But I've come to realize that you come here to serve, and at times you're going to be thrown with rocks. I feel like a Jamarat, sometimes she calls me that. And I just continue doing what I need to do. Our next speaker, Professor Halim, is from the University of Cape Town. Professor Halim, if you can excuse me, your surname is very difficult. My Turkish is only as far as Ertugrul goes. And so I'm not able to pronounce the surname at all. But, and I can't even spell it because it's got these things on the top and at the bottom. But I'm going to leave it for him to go. Professor Halim is a historian, Ottomanist. Dr. Halim is the author of 6 books on several articles in African studies. He was born in Turkey in 1981. After his bachelor's degree in historical studies, he completed his second master's degree in religious studies and doctoral studies at the University of Cape Town. Dr. Halim continues his academic research in African studies at the University of Cape Town. Dr. Halim.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. As Brother Faisal said that I am Turkish historian at University of Cape Town, and my surname is Gençoğlu. But don't worry about it. There are some words in Afrikaans I can't also pronounce, so it's not a deal here. Firstly, thanks. Really, I'm much appreciated for invitation come from Faisal to the cemetery. Actually, I am very familiar with the cemetery for a few reasons, and one of them is, of course, about history. Many Ottoman descendants, they are buried in Mowbray Cemetery. And some of them were actually pioneers of Cape Muslims, and they established the Ottoman relations between Turkey and South Africa, or let's say South African Muslim Society. And in fact, one of them is just buried here, down just here, Ottoman scholar Mahmud Fakih Efendi. He was born in Cape Town. His father came from Turkey, Hasanuddin Efendi. He was also called as Karl Pilgrim, and we just actually did a ceremony about his death in Tanabaru Cemetery. So after him, his death actually, because as you know, in that time, in 1870s, even early 1880s, Mowbray Cemetery wasn't open yet. So those big pioneers, you know, like Tuan Guru, Hasanuddin, Sheikh Alawi, they were all buried in Tanabari Cemetery. So that cemetery is also important for us. But there's no burial there anymore. You know, it's actually closed. It was closed in 1886. That's why Muslim people asked another cemetery close to town. And in fact, this Mahmud Faki Effendi, I find it very strange because he fought against Cape colonial government to get another burial ground close to town, and so with his endeavors and some other Muslim, prominent Muslims at that time, they fought for this cemetery, and at the end of the day, he was also buried here. So actually, he fought for the cemetery, but at the end of the day, he even got benefit from that endeavors. So he was buried here, and he died in 71 Wales Street, which is Book Museum at the present. And if you go to Book Museum, you will see I donated there. I gathered some documents from family members, and I donated there. And his son was the last Ottoman scholar who was buried just down up here. And he was the last scholar who actually received salary from Ottoman Empire until the First World War. And as you know, Ottoman Empire sent here a Muslim scholar, first Muslim scholar, Ebu Bekir Effendi, Sayyid Ebu Bekir Effendi. He was buried in Tanabari Cemetery. His two sons, they are buried here. One, Ömer Celaleddin, just here. And he has many, actually, grandsons, grandchildren. They are buried also around. But one of them was very important, Hisham Nimetullah Effendi, buried just down here in 1945. He actually established, he followed actually his father's footsteps, like Muslim scholar, and in fact, I just saw some interesting names in this book from Saleh family, Doli families. So they were really close at that time. When I read the Ottoman documents, actually, there is another word there. We must, I try to translate them to English, because it's unfortunately, there are few people now that can read this language. And you can see that there are lots of actually family relations between even Abdullah family, they were buried just here, one of them, and they also had relationship together, family relations. So this, what I'm trying to say, all these family members, they had even not just, cultural relation, but they also had family relations, and they all become actually relatives. Some of South African Muslims in 1940s, they moved to Turkey just before the apartheid to visit their family members. They died there. There are some South African Muslims actually buried in Istanbul. So that's why the history is very important. And there are few students now, like Diane Peterson. He is coming to, in this age, I really admire his endeavors. He come to, in this age, it's very few people now we can find at universities to come to graveyards and look at cemeteries and, try to preserve this heritage, which belongs to all of us. So I appreciate for really Faisal's this important mission he actually hold, and he tried to also create awareness of this, which is very important for everybody. And new Turkish ambassador just arrived here actually, and I told her already to to support this Mowbray Cemetery financially and culturally, because it's, as I said, it also belongs to. I mean, there are many Ottoman descendants also buried in this cemetery, so it actually belongs to all of us, as I mentioned earlier. So thank you very much for this project, and I will also definitely support that museum project because I have lots of things to donate there. And inshallah, all together we do very nice things here. Shukran and Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Malik. I was going to ask him to say a few lines from ear to throat just to hear what it sounds like. Because I'm always amazed at what it sounds like. And I watched Suleiman the Magnificent also. That one was quite good. Sheikh Fataar, didn't I get Sheikh involved in that? No. Watching it, no.
No.
Oh, okay. No. But in any case, also just want to acknowledge we do have two members of parliament here. Mr. Hanif Hendricks, I'm not sure where he is at the moment, and also Nazir Paulson from the EFF. Nazir, you are not going to expropriate this land at all. I just want the EFF to know that. But in any case, our next speaker is Ibrahim Parker. He's the CEO of Security SA Holdings. I brought him on just for a few minutes because Ibrahim had a very interesting story. Ibrahim, if you could just join me for a moment. Security is putting a lot into the cemetery in terms of the protection of the cemetery, and I want to pay tribute to him for that. He's got the ultimate level with his team to look after the cemetery day and night, and I think that we need to pay tribute to. You know, sometimes I tell people that when you walk past every tombstone, you walk past tombstones simply. But if you stop at any tombstone and you look at the dates, know behind the tombstone is a family, or children, a life, a history, or meals, visits, travel. So it's just not a tombstone. And I want people to view it that way when they come in. I'm starting to sound old, I think, Ibrahim. Ibrahim, you know, the first time I met you,
Yes.
You said to me that
yes.
that you, it wasn't about getting a contract from Mowbray Cemetery. You had a story to tell of why security is to be to protect the cemetery.
Can I start my introduction?
Yes, and I just want to speak.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Shukran Faisal for this opportunity. I'm honored for the invitation today. Assalamu alaikum. Good day to all esteemed guests and all protocol observed. My history with Mowbray Cemetery extends for over 21 years. I have a deep passion for this area, and I'm privileged and honored to provide the services of my company, Security SA. I hope our presence in the area of Mowbray will be benefit from this protection, and we can eradicate or at least act as a deterrent for crime and loitering to the cemetery. Okay, so we can go.
I answered the question that I wanted to ask.
Okay,
But I think I'll just ask you one more.
you want to go
Yes,
back
just one
to
more, yes.
why our came here?
Yes, yeah, because I just wanted you said there was a personal story
Okay,
as to what you felt
Okay.
when you came here.
okay. First of all, Shireen, I'm not a white guy. I'm a Muslim. He thought I was white. Originally, I'm from the Oval Mosque, right? My grandfather was Imam Hassan Ahmad Hamza, and his grandfather. So the Dorp Street Mosque in 37 Dorp Street in the Oval Mosque has been running in our history for the past 300 years. The house right next door is where I grew up until the age of 33. But there was one gift that my grandfather gave me. He used to write in English and Afrikaans, Arabic, right? The original Quran that is displayed in the Oval Mosque, the big one, they gave me the original one, which is a bit smaller. That was a gift to me. So 21 years ago, you see this badge here, Faisal? This was given to me from the American President of the United States of America 21 years ago, okay? And I used to come every Friday for 21 years. I used to come to Mowbray, Kabastan, before Juma, I used to recite from the Quran, you know? And in my heart, I said, you know, these are all my people here, my heritage, my grandfathers, my grand uncles, everybody. And this is our final resting place, right? And with the vandalism going on, and I've experienced so many things in 21 years. People burying things into graves, stealing graves, as you said, Satanist stuff. And when Faisal called me, into my VIP unit lead, and she called me for a meeting at Hermanus that day, and I cancelled it. Sorry, my eyes teary. I cancelled that meeting and said, no, I want to go. So Faisal said, this is a calling, you know. And funny enough, we spoke about his mother, Abidai, and there was a very connection. So from a security point of view, Faisal, I want you to hold on to this box. It's not a bomb. Okay, in case everybody's there.
Gunshots fired here yesterday.
When you mentioned the gunshots, we got you a little gift,
Oh, that's it.
right? This is a
Safety pack.
yes, it's a universal tracker.
Oh,
Okay.
what was enjoyable?
Yes, there's 3 buttons on there. If you press the one, a helicopter will arrive and come pick you up. Okay. But don't press it yet.
Oh, no.
Because it's a real helicopter.
Oh, no,
Okay.
seriously.
We got 3 buttons, right? So if you anyway in any event and you feel threatened, okay, you've got 3 buttons to press and the army will be there.
Thank you, Iksan Higgins, for going to Hermanus.
I recognize Iksan Higgins from high school. I think we were in school together. Nice to meet you, son.
Thank you, Ibrahim. Thank you for this.
It's got everything in there. I think that's about right.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
everything.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, shukran to everybody. Enjoy the rest of the
I'm a bit worried about these buttons. I'm a bit scared. I will try just after the function. But okay, can I do that? Our next speaker flew in from Durban, who just landed now. Mr. Ahmed Farooq. Ahmed Farooq is one of the founding members of the Islamic Burial Council, which was formed in 1998 and has served as the chairman for 25 years. And that's in KZN, Gauteng. The purpose of the Islamic Burial Council was to engage with all the role players and bring all the Muslim burial societies under one umbrella. He is part of the Forensic Medicine and Police, known as HUMP, which he serves as the vice chairman, ex-chairman of Diabetes South Africa, vice chairman of the Undertakers Forum, and chairman of the United Clothing Textile Association. Mr. Farooq has flown in all the way from Durban. He has been instrumental in acquiring the equipment for the Ghusl Khana for us, and I thought it was only apt to invite him today. And a round of applause for him. I mean, he had flown in all the way for us this morning.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. All protocols observed. Alhamdulillah. Faisal phoned me. First, he was getting involved with this cemetery. So I told him, no, Faisal, you got black hair. When you finish, you'll finish pitch white because you can do whatever you want. You want to have obstacle all the time. They'll come twice a year to the cemetery. The brick, the name tag is moved. They'll phone him, Faisal, somebody move my father's name tag. So Faisal, get used to it. Join the club, Faisal. Anyway, Alhamdulillah, Faisal asked me to give some assistance in the setting up the Ghusl Khana here in Mowbray. I must also confess that Mowbray Cemetery Ghusl Khana will be the second in South Africa. I've set one up last year in Phoenix in Durban, and this is going to be the second one in the country. There is no other Ghusl Khana in the cemetery. So Alhamdulillah, so we're getting there, and Alhamdulillah, in fact, with COVID, as Sheikh said, we have to change with the times and everything. And I think it is a very good move that we have made to bring the Ghusl Khana here. I have got everything for the Ghusl Khana. We just want to go through it today, make sure that it is in conjunction with the city of Cape Town in terms of health regulations and everything, which I will help them to get that thing up and running very, very quickly, inshallah. The other milestone in my life was no other hospital, private hospital in the country has a Ghusl Khana. I have put up one about 2 years ago at the Ahmed Al Khadi Hospital in Durban. That was another milestone for me. So when it comes to cemeteries, Alhamdulillah, Allah has blessed me for the last 25 years to do the work of Deen. we work very closely with Riad Fataar from MJC as well. My only request is we need to preserve our cemeteries and have to bring them up to speed in terms of maintenance. Because what we did in Durban when I first got into power in 1998, I took over 8 cemeteries from the eThekwini municipality. And the elders told me, you know what, Ahmad, you're Diyar Makar, why you want to take it from them when they are servicing it, they are looking after it, they are digging, we don't have to pay anything. But the bigger picture was that if we took it away, if we maintain it ourselves, we had our own destiny and we can bury any odd hours. And there was one cemetery, we had 1,500 graves. In terms of our recycling method, we were only burying like about 100 a year. So they said to us, no, you can only take 500, the balance of it, we need to take it away. So we got in at the right time, so they couldn't take those away. When I left last year at the Islamic Burial Council, because I'll tell you what my other plans are. When I left last year from 8, I brought it up to 14 cemeteries, alhamdulillah. So I think it is high time, if you're going to depend on the city of Cape Town to find you site, forget it. It's not going to happen for a long, long time. I think we need to get up and start looking for ourselves, do a JV with the city and the private sector and get these cemeteries. That's the only way. And I can come down and assist them in to do the layout. I've got the knowledge of the layout as well. I also heard the IT guy that you're putting the cameras in the cemetery. In fact, if the guy is here, if he needs any more additional assistance, I can give him a chip. You can put it in the grave and you can go back 5-10 years. Who was buried? What's the BI 1663 number, the death certificate, the burial order, everything we can capture it there as well. So if he needs that assistant, Faisal, he can always ask me. I can help him with that as well. The other, most importantly, we are going to be the first in Africa. We have just acquired 500,000 graves in the other side of South Coast, which is going to be developed in the next 3 to 4 months. It is going to be the biggest in Africa and the 3rd biggest in the world. So Alhamdulillah, I'm being the consultant for about 3 or 4 cemeteries at the moment in KZN, setting them up and all. I've been because I know the know-how. So Alhamdulillah, I'm really assisting in that day. Faisal, once again, I must thank you to invite me to come down. Only one thing is, it is cheaper to fly to Dubai than coming to Cape Town because because the flights are like 6,500 rand just one way at the moment. It's that bad. It is. Jazakallah, Faisal.
Thank you, Mr. Farooq, for that. The program is not much longer. We only have one more speaker. After that, we have some gifts to hand out. We're going to take a brief walk just to the front gate there and just around that way and just a little bit to the back. And after that, plant some trees. It's also Arbor Month, I think. With that, under correction. Mowbray also has a website, mowbraycemetery.org. You can have a look at all the burial regulations and all that type of thing. I've been asked the question 10 times this week, can I book a spot before the time? I had an offer this week where someone said, even if the price changes, I'll rather pay, I don't know where this person wants to lay at the moment, or what they're planning to do, but that's another story. So, Mr. Farooq, the requests are a bit strange, you're 100% right. I've also had a request recently, and I spoke to Sheikh Riad Fataar about this. Someone had even requested to be buried alive, not fully, but with the boards on, for only 3 hours. And they said they'll pay for the grave. And I was a bit worried, and I hope they're not watching this video right now. But these are the strange requests we do get shared. Yusuf Khan Dawa is the Public Relations Officer for the Cape Mazar Society. The Cape Mazar Society and Mowbray Cemetery share a very good relationship in terms of assisting and then looking at our official heritage applications and issues around that. So they're the people we talk to. The Cape Mazar Society was formed in January 1982, initially for the upgrade and maintenance of the shrine of Sheikh Abdurrahman Matura on Robben Island. Here's a very interesting point, actually. However, the name chosen, Robben Island Mazar Society, was rejected by the prisoners' authorities, and that's perhaps good because they're looking after the Karamats now for the whole of the Cape. The Cape Mazar Society is a constituted body and is recognized by the Muslim Judicial Council, the South African National Monuments Council, the Cape Regional Services Council, the Cape Town City Council, and the Correctional Services Department. Attorney Yusuf also assists us with many legal issues and preparing documents for us. We've moved one direction with Mowbray, and that is we want to get the organization 100% correct in terms of governance, structure, and all of that. So we use attorneys, we use accountants, we use people. This is not an underground operation. It might seem like one.
Yeah. It is.
Respected Presidency of the Muslim Judicial Council, the Muslim Cemetery Board, and all esteemed guests, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and a very good afternoon to one and all. Thank you, Faisal, for the opportunity. I just want to ask Mr. Parak, before he takes his Emirates flight back to Durban, if he can just do a before and after photo of Faisal, so that we can also place that in the museum when it comes up. Thank you for the kind introduction, Mr. Sayed. It took away 10 minutes of the 15 minutes that you've allocated to me. So I will just jump right into it. A brief background: in 2019, approximately during 2019, the Cape Mazar Society embarked on a serial nomination of all the Karamats in Western Cape, in particularly Cape Town and the Cape Peninsula, in conjunction and association with Konita Sami of Vida Memoria. I'm not sure if she's here yet. And we've submitted nominations. Of the 25 that we've nominated thus far, we've nominated 10. And in 2019, we've nominated the 10. And alhamdulillah, the process has been ongoing. And we are close to the final and close to the end of the process. And that's where the declaration and the grading will take place soon, over the next 2 to 3 months, inshāLlah. A background regarding that, why Faisal has particularly asked me to speak. Our interest here at the Mowbray Cemetery is the Karamat that's right behind us, and that's of Sheikh Muhsin, was one of the nominations that was added to our profile for the first 10, the batch of 10. So when we doing a nominations, we must submit various documentation and various submissions insofar as significance is concerned. You can't just, say, here's a Karamat, we want it to be declared heritage. We had to research each and every nomination, get substantial evidence and provide historical evidence, spiritual evidence, religious evidence, and significance around that particular shrine of Karamat to SAHARA, the South African Heritage Resource Agency, and therefore it was accepted. Alhamdulillah, that is a great part, a great step. So we obviously, one of the aspects of it is that the landowner of where the Karamat is based or situated has to give some approval. And we then approached the Muslim Cemetery Board, and alhamdulillah, we've been welcomed and been treated with a lot of respect insofar as our nominations. We've received the cooperation to such an extent that we have now formed an agreement or a partnership or memorandum of understanding with the Muslim Cemetery Board, and the Cape Mazar Society is very pleased with that as well. Moving forward, we also, on that topic, with the other Mazars in Cape Town, in Western Cape, we also have a relationship with the Muslim Judicial Council, and we also have a memorandum of understanding with them insofar as where any issues relating to Karamats is concerned, the Muslim Judicial Council always refers the matters to us for it to be resolved. And we also thank you for that support and cooperation and the respect that we've developed over the years. Shukran to the MJC and the presidency of the MJC. I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate the Muslim Cemetery Board, in particular Faisal Sayyid and his team, for today's event. Very significant event because it's relating to heritage. As Professor has mentioned, various burial sites here relates to very strong heritage here in Cape Town and in South Africa, pertaining to the Ottomans, etc. This event is probably one of the, I don't know how many events there were before, but at least today is a start for us that's here in attendance to see many more events like this moving forward, inshallah. So I congratulate the Muslim Cemetery Board for that. Also, I'm very proud of the fact that the Cemetery Board has now established and developed a Ghusl-khana. And in particular now with the situation in South Africa or in the world with our pandemic, and it's a safe space. Families needs to know, undertakers, burial societies needs to become aware and promote such Ghusl-khanas, you know, for the ease and convenience of the families. And it's definitely a benefit and a contribution towards the term Fard Kifaya within our Muslim community. So I want to give you a special round of applause for this initiative. Faisal, I would like to just remind you that that is a Ghusl-khana. Please don't attempt to take a shower there. I wouldn't want to hear of any of those stories. I can understand the other stories that come, you know, we're being this and that. I don't ever want to hear that you've taken the shower in the Ghusl-khana. So thank you, everybody. Shukran for giving me your attention. And I wish you enjoy the day further. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Yes, for that. The funny thing was that I was going to ask, the Ghusl-khana is under construction, we can get to see now. But I was going to actually ask him to inaugurate the tray that we wash with the people in. We just needed him to lay in there, pour some water on.
We say Jazakumullah khairan for tuning in to this live broadcast from Mowbray Cemetery, inshallah. We will now have a gift handing over and tokens. So we say Jazakumullah khairan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Safe